What's going on, guys? It's Taicowhite here for Team Cardfighters United, and today I'm coming at you with another of the bargain bin deck profiles. Another one of these budget decks that are generally, the rule of thumb for these decks is under $30 and still being very competitive. And if you can't tell by my voice, I'm sick and I'm dying, but not too dead to do this deck profile of this amazing friggin', oh my god, I love this. It's beautiful. Today I'm bringing to you budget Deletors, and you probably can't tell, but these are actually the cards that are sleeved in these from the last video. I just needed to buy some sleeves, and I love the blood, but I can't afford to play the blood, so I just don't. I didn't have anything else to put the sleeves on. I'm like, well, if you look at them like this, they look like they work. It's all good. Alright, let's get started. For our starter, we actually run 3 copies of it. It is Acquired Deleter Igor. And I know you might be thinking that is a waste to take up 3 slots just for your starter, and probably the 2 is good enough, but actually it kind of wins me games to roll like this. The skill of him is whenever your Vanguard or your opponent's Vanguard is deleted, you can move him to Soul to draw a card and countercharge 1. And this is a very counterhouse heavy deck just from the main grade 3. The main grade 3 is actually the only thing that counterblast when I think about it. But it's such a heavy cost that it makes this deck counterblast heavy. And we run 3 of him, and he'll actually, because he brings you the draw power you need to refill your board and to help you guard. You don't guard much with this deck because it's a rush. This is my Deletors rush. Like, it hurts people bad. So 3 of this helps you prevent from staying too low on counterblasts, and it gets you some hand, which is good. The boss card of the deck is not the new Deleter support. This is actually built from old Deletors, because I had this guy right here, one copy of him from my one of the box openings that I did like forever ago on the channel, about a year ago, of BT16, and almost everything in this deck does come from BT16. I think everything except for a crit trigger comes from BT16. Yeah, most of the deck is really cheap. It's about a $25 deck, and there's, yeah, it's just a really good deck, really fun to play, and I definitely recommend getting it, especially if you want something different. His skill is counterblast 3 cards with the leader in the card name, and choose one of your Vanguards and move it to Soul. Delete all of your opponent's Vanguards, and this unit gets plus 10,000 power at the end of turn. Okay, the thing a lot of people say is Vanguard or Deletors, deleting the Vanguard doesn't matter, because if you didn't know, whenever you stride on a deleted unit, the deleted unit flips back up, and it's like it was never deleted in the first place. So, you're probably thinking, well, why would you run these cards that were the old Deletors that were really good back in old format before strides, but now are almost worthless? Well, they were worthless when you played them the old way. But in the new way, you don't use the delete as a way to slow your opponent down. You use the delete as a way to speed yourself up. What you do is you delete your opponent's Vanguard and you rush hard, hitting the biggest numbers you can, hitting them hard. Because if you didn't know, deleting the opponent's Vanguard makes their power go to 0. So while they're at 0 power, you're getting +2 or plus 10. If you're just hitting normally at 10, for them to guard for 1 to pass, where you're hitting for just this with the plus 10, that's 21 by himself, they have to guard 26k from hand for 1 to pass. Just from this one guy, without any boosters or anything. And if by chance they can't do anything with striding, which this skill is literally useless, because if they can ride, they can stride. Basically, it says at the beginning of your opponent's ride phase, if your opponent has a deleted Vanguard, your opponent has to choose a card from his or her hand or discard it. If they don't, your opponent can't normal ride. But that's basically useless, because if they can ride, they can stride. So why would you ride with a disadvantage when you can stride without losing anything? Yeah, so he's the main boss of the deck, and I run 4 of him, and I love this card. It's really cool. If you can't tell from the sirens going off in the distance, I am outdoors, because I'm sick and it feels too stuffy in that home. So Let's move on. Next, we have 4 copies of Mashing Deleter Gaon. Mashing Deleter Gaon's skill is when this unit attacks Vanguard, if the battle opponent's power is 12,000 or greater, it's +10. So basically, if he's on Vanguard and you attack a card that has 12,000 or greater power, basically if he attacks a Vanguard that's got a trigger on it, or if he attacks what are they called? I can't remember the name. No, I'm a failure. What are they? It doesn't even matter, because that skill is not important. The whole reason we run him is actually because of a second skill. His rearguard skill. When this unit attacks, he gets +2,000. That's it? That's all, Bailey? That's all that it is? Yes, actually, it is. He's a grade 3, 12k attacker. 4 of him. Run him because the Deleter's Rush has to be as real as possible. The Rush game, which is exactly why we are running 3 of the grade 2 12k attacker, pursuing Deleter Egoat. Egoat is, as I said, another 12k attacker. So right now, in this deck, we have 7 Deleter 12k attackers. So basically, you are hitting hard. This right here is Greedy Deleter Jail. Whenever Jail hits, you countercharge 1. He is just to help fuel your counterblast for Oxus, because Oxus is honestly just a really good card, and fueling the counterblast as much as possible is definitely helpful. So having him there, because on-hit skills, a lot of people are kind of wary about because they have to hit. But when you're making your opponent at 0 power, it's a lot easier to hit, because they're at 0 power and you swing with a 9k. If it's not boosted to completely block it, they have to drop a 10k from their hand. If it just has any kind of boost on it whatsoever, they automatically have to drop 15k to guard that and prevent my on-hit from going off. The next grade 2 is Juxtaposed Deleter Gaeli. It is part of a Legion, but you don't need the Legion to use this skill. His skill is whenever it's placed on rear, if the Vanguard's deleted, lock one of the rear guards in the front row. Basically, I know that I said this deck is not what the field control, preventing them from doing anything because they're deleted, that kind of stuff, and it's still not. Let me explain. This skill is actually meant to, you place it and use its skill to take one of their interceptors and lock it where they can't use it to intercept this turn. And it'll also prevent them from hitting you as hard the next turn, so you don't have to drop any useful units in hand. And then the turn after that, when you go to use Ox's skill again, this is the card that you use to move into your soul to make the skill go off. I run 2 of him. It's just a really good card to use to prevent the intercepts, to make your opponent have to drop more cards from their hand and prevent them from hitting you as hard the next turn. Next, we have actually just 2 10Ks. The point of the 10Ks is to, you want to try as hard as possible to ride them, just so you have the ability to make your opponent have to commit to the board a little bit more if they want to hit you a lot while you're on grade 2. And also, on the off chance that you don't have him in hand, but you don't have Oxes, but you have Gaon, you don't want to ride Gaon. So even though Sea Breeze is a thing, it is worth it to stay on grade 2 if you don't have Oxes. Which is why I run him, because it makes it a little bit easier to take those hits, because you're a 10k. Next up, we have our grade 1s. First grade 1 is 4 Breaking Deleter Guitario. I love his name. Reminds me of, like, he's like an evil Mario, but he's not Wario. He's like an actual evil Mario and not just a yellow Mario. It's really fat. Okay, well, I'm off topic here. But his skill is he's just the Deleter 10k attacker. So again, more power. That's what this deck does. It hits big. That's the point. The entire point of this deck is to try to make your columns as big as possible, as easy as possible. If you've noticed, the only card so far that's had a cost has been Oxus. Next card. Whenever this unit boosts and it hits a Vanguard, or whenever this unit boosts and that attack hits the Vanguard, if your opponent's Vanguard is deleted, lock one of the rear guards in the front row. So there's again more prevention for intercepting, more keeping your opponent from hitting you as hard, punishing them for committing to the board, stuff like that. Next we have a 1-of, and it is Chewing Deleter Boro. Boro is an 11k booster to Oxus. So when he's boosting Oxes, whether it be on Vanguard or rear guards, or either way this works, it's 22 column, 22k column. If you use Ox's skill, Oxes gets plus 10. It's automatically a 32k attack, while your opponent's is grade 0. Or not grade 0, but while your opponent's is 0 power. So to guard that, your opponent has to drop 35k for a 1 to pass. If they want to completely no pass it, they have to guard for even more. So basically, it's just a really devastating attack. Next up, we've got 2 of the 8k grade 1s. Is just there to boost up your 12k attackers, your Geo, because I mean that right there is just a 18k swing. When your opponent's Vanguard's at 0 power and you're swinging for 18k, that's automatically 20k they have to guard with. Or if you happen to have it behind one of your 12Ks and you swing, they have to guard for at least 25. So it's worth it to run him. And of course, 4 of the Perfect Guard. This Perfect Guard is refusing to leader evil. He's just your normal Perfect Guard. Choose a card from your hand, discard it. And when it's placed on Guardian Circle, you can negate the attack. So it's not one of the newer ones. This is the old one. I don't use the one that does the stuff when your opponent's Vanguard is deleted, because it doesn't, it's more expensive, and it doesn't really help me out. Okay, now we're going to move real quick and take these cards and move them out of the way, and we will do our triggers really quickly. The triggers in this deck are really weird just because of one card. One card makes these triggers weird, and I don't know why, it just does, and I'm running low on battery, but I should still have time, so it'll be okay, guys. Okay. I don't even know why I'm trying to keep it in order. It's not like it matters. Okay, for our triggers, we have 4 heal. 4 of this crit being Binding Deleter Giva. Giva's skill is at the end of the battle that it boosts, you can countercharge 1 and choose a card in your opponent's drop zone and bind it face down. Which basically means if you're playing against Granblue, which this is the only reason the second skill can do anything, is if you're playing against Granblue, you can bind one of their important units. As you know, I love Granblue, so Granblue is a force to be reckoned with. So yeah, we run 4 of this crit, 4 of the Olg Deleter crit, 3 of the Maze Deleter crit, and 1 draw. Why the 1 draw, you ask? You may be thinking this is some extremely strategic play that is actually fantastic and I planned it and it wins me games all the time. That's where you're wrong. I don't have another crit. But even if I could get one, I wouldn't, because I recently realized that this card actually has won me games. So the 1 crit, 4 heal, 11 draw actually works very well for me in this deck, and I will not be changing that. The only thing I would change is if there was a deleter, if there was a deleter crit, like another one, a 4th one, I would probably run that just because of how rushy this deck is. It would almost guarantee an extremely large amount of crit. So it's pretty nice if I could run 12 or run 16 crit, but I can't. And for the strides, there's actually only 2 cards in this deck, and it's 2 of our Lord and Savior, Blizza. And that's just because I like Blizza. I mean, well, what else you gotta say, man? Basically, if you don't have the counterblast to Oxes again, or if you need to replenish your hand, you can go into him, swing, you know, they have to guard it for a decent amount. It's just the only other card in the deck to counterblast, and I mostly run him just because he's Blizza, and also it's just for the draw from his triple drive. I don't really run him to hit hard, because obviously he's just 2-0. I'll put my once I get my copies of the Krail Metal G Guardians, I'll use them in this deck too. But my box has not came here for Fighters Collection 2016 yet, which I will have an opening for as soon as it gets here. We are also going to try to do more of these budget deck profiles. That's probably going to become just our thing in general. Just because of the fact that we love non-meta, and budget is literally the definition of not meta. Remember guys, if you have anything you want to see us try to do a budget deck for, just a clan or a specific card that's not that expensive that you want us to try to build a good deck around that's not that's equally not that expensive, we will do our best to try to do that for you and try to have a video for it. So if you have any requests, leave them down below. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Taicowhite for Team Card Fighters United. I apologize for all the loud cars. They suck. Peace.